All right, hey everybody, nice to see you all. Hopefully I'm coming in loud and clear. Let me know if my audio is not working that great tonight. Great to see you all. Got some people piling into chat. Okay, 5x5 sounds great. Okay, perfect. The new mic setup is working good. I've actually gotten quite a bit of good feedback on it from other people, especially ones that have talked about the, the mic quality in the past. So that's good to hear. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I am going to be switching really quick here. Bear with me, I'm moving some folders around really quick here. We're going to be talking about CitizenCon expectations. Thank you for the YouTube viewers popping in. 56 over there, and looks like we got 24 over on Twitch. I'll go ahead and just really quick note here before we jump into things. The question bot is not working. Well, it's working, but there's some kind of issue with it. I don't know what the issue is. Art is the one working on it. He's going to dive into it. We also have the Piggles question bot that is still being worked on. We're going to be trying that out on Sunday. So more information on the question bot coming soon. I just don't have all that right in front of me right now. But bear with me. Bear with me on that. We are trying to work something out. It is complicated, believe it or not, to be able to pull the questions from YouTube, from Twitch, and populate them into Discord automatically. I do have a show Discord that the questions are supposed to populate into, and it's not working perfectly. But again, that's Art's world. He's working on it. Get you some updates on that really, really soon. That being said, a couple top of show announcements before we get into things. Tomorrow is CitizenCon, as you all know. Tomorrow's CitizenCon. And originally the plan was I was going to do the Starjump virtual watch party, right? We talked about that. We're not doing the virtual watch party. That's been moved to Sunday, sort of a Starjump celebration thing. So not doing that tomorrow. The reason is it's my daughter's birthday, right? And her birthday goes literally right up to the start of CitizenCon. And then when that ends, I'm going to jump in and be an honorary info runner for a day and work with Algrid and Execute, Nonstop Bops, a couple other people, and cover it from their channel. It just made more sense logistically for me because I'm so busy tomorrow. I can't really deal with all all that type of stuff. And it'll allow me to just kind of watch CitizenCon and enjoy it and get all that info. On Sunday evening, I'm going to do the Starjump virtual hangout via Zoom. For those of you that RSVP'd, appreciate it. I'm going to do that. Thank you very much. I'm going to do that. And we'll do that for an hour. Everyone can keep hanging out in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a stream. And the stream will sort of cover my reactions to CitizenCon. And then I'll bring on community guests from the Zoom that want to be on the voice chat for the stream. And you'll be able to pop in, ask, react, talk about topics or whatever, give everyone a few minutes, and then I'll pop you off, pop another person on. So a little bit of a way for us to like community interact. Again, still working out a few things with a few people, but that's essentially the plan Sunday. But again, all that could change. Okay, so bear with me on all that. It's just been an incredibly busy time period. This week, by the way, I'm sure some of you saw there were streams planned and then canceled. They were canceled just because there was no info to talk about. There was just no information to talk about, and I just decided it was best to wait. Actually, let me bring one thing down, everybody. That being said, thank you for the follows coming in right now. Dexzine, Power Pixie, and Cygnician. Hopefully I said that right. Thank you very much. Creeping towards our follower goal. So thank you very much. We are going to be talking about CitizenCon expectations tonight. Okay, CitizenCon expectations. Okay. Let's see here. Got a couple messages coming in. Let's see, AVMXCO. There's Starjump Ender. Everyone says it sounds good. That's good to hear. Let's see here. Go take your Discord. Yeah, I'll be able to switch over to Discord in just a minute. I'm trapped in a weird Discord channel right now, related to my stream, seeing if something works, but I'll be out of that in a minute and can read your message. Mass Calamity, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Just sent the Kraken down below. But yeah, it's nice to see everybody. Power Pixie says, damn it, was about to go to bed at 4:30 a.m. here, but then you got online. Hey, if you want to hang out with me tonight as I talk about CitizenCon expectations, please feel free to. If you need to get that sleep because CitizenCon is starting tomorrow and you need to have all that energy rested up, that's totally fine. Get rested up. This will be on the VOD. You could watch it tomorrow for sure if you needed to, if you wanted to. Anyways, Cal Doom just resubscribed with Prime. Thank you very much, Cal Doom. I appreciate that. Okay, let's jump into some CitizenCon expectations. There's quite a bit to talk about. First and foremost, all of you know the deal with CitizenCon this year. It is a 2-hour digital pre-recorded event. So much different than in years past where there was sort of a schedule of topics and panels that were going to be done, right? You know, and from the panel topics, we kind of knew what was being discussed. That's obviously not the case this year. In some ways, it's kind of interesting because it does give the whole event a little bit more mystery. On the flip side, I think we're all pretty certain that it's going to be a much more focused show this year. Last year was all about Star System 1.0. This year's probably going to be mostly stuff coming in the next 12 months. That's what I'm speculating, at least. The big question is what's coming in the next 12 months. So in many ways, depending on how you look at the game and how you look at game news, a focus show like that could either be a good thing or a bad thing. A good thing in that it's focused, right? It's only going to be showing near-term stuff. And kind of a bummer for those that do like to think ahead to the Star Citizen 1.0 game, that future game, the dream. So for me, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. You know, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what's coming sooner rather than later. We obviously have some hints here. But also, I'm a backer that really backs the game for the future. You know, I want Star Citizen 1.0. I want to get out of alpha. I want a finished game. I want features to be created, you know, and finished. I want gameplay loops to be finished. I want this thing to get out there. So for me, I really like the forward-looking stuff. It allows the community to discuss those things and post and talk about them, and it allows CIG to kind of put their ear to the ground, hear what we have to say about their plans, make adjustments if needed. Not that they possibly always do that, but you know, again, it's just one of those things. It's hit or miss. I've heard people say they really love the 2-hour. They think they're going to love the 2-hour format, and other people that are already pretty bummed. But regardless, I think it's going to be exciting. I think we got some big stuff to talk about. Obviously, if anyone has a question you want to ask, feel free to put it in chat. Put question all in capitals. Nice big bold. I'll try to grab it. I'm going to grab them manually and answer them. I may miss some. I got a family full of people here tonight, so it's kind of a different sort of stream tonight. So that being said, we're going to talk about the first thing. Let's see. Ender says, I'll keep an eye if you want, Graham. Yeah, I've got a notepad here. I'm just kind of grabbing stuff as I see it. So we will see. Let's see. Hey, Avenger One, hope you're doing well. I've grabbed your question. We got a few questions right off the bat. So I think we'll just start with some questions, right? We'll start with some questions and we will and then we'll kind of lead into our first topic. We already got 2 questions though. One from Ark Ralph says, I know it may not be for this CitizenCon, but what we know of alien ships, what we know of alien ships besides the Rail and BMM and Vandal ships. Honestly, beyond that, I don't think we do know a lot about alien ships, other than we've heard about some archetypes. Like I know the Xi'an are supposed to have quite a few cargo ships and some cargo ships we haven't seen, and we've heard about some additional Asperia ships. I would say honestly that any Vandal ship has the potential to become an Asperia ship. So we have heard a little bit about them. Obviously, there's all the Squadron 42 alien ships, that which we don't know. There's some we do. The Driller, the King ship, the Mauler, which we've heard some stuff about recently. So we have heard stuff about that. We just don't, we don't have much more to go on than that. Some people do. Bops has a lot of Vandal information. Astropub has a lot of Vandal information. I'm not super up on the Vandal or alien stuff, to be totally honest with you. I probably should get up to date on it. Cal Doom and Brettley, thank you for those resubscribes. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. VG, nice to see you. Got another question here from Avenger1. Avenger, hope you're doing well. Question, do you think we will see new flight model stuff tomorrow? I think so. I think we'll hear something about it. I know that there was the focus testing on it just, what was that, a couple of weeks ago? Where Avenger, you may not, obviously you probably wouldn't be able to talk about it. I'm not sure if you were part of that testing group. I mean, I said it the other day that I hope that the testing that they did, I hope it was balanced in that there were people that really know the flight model, pros and cons of it. And then I hope there was some just people brought into that testing group that don't know shit about the flight model. And here's the reason. I think we need both perspectives. We need the group that knows the flight model, right? So that they can give that nuanced, informed, high level of detail information. And then we need the people that almost don't care about the flight model. We need a small subset of them to represent that new player that comes into Star Citizen, because it's got to be easy to learn, but hard to master, right? So it's almost like 2 sides of that coin. From what I heard, the flight model stuff was a little meh. The flight model changes, I don't know. I'm not a flight model expert. So I could see them talking about it only because I know it's an important topic for a lot of people. So yeah, I could see them bringing it up. If not during the show, then I could see them doing a talk after CitizenCon where it's talked about. One of those sort of casual CR yogi talks. I could see that happening. So real quick here. So I do have your Discord message up. Ender, thank you. I see you popping questions in there. Appreciate it. I don't have my headphones tonight, so I can't hear anybody. I'm redoing my audio setup, so I do not have headphones tonight. So you could join me. I just wouldn't be able to hear you or interact with you in any way. That being said, another question here from Blurry Pixel. Question, not about CitizenCon, but what if CIG were to sell a complete set of Vandal ships, excluding the King ship, similar to Aegis Drake? How much do you think it would cost? Well, I do think they'll do that eventually. I think that is definitely a thing that will happen. Cost-wise, I don't know. I mean, there's some pretty big Vandal ships. Put the King ship aside for a minute. Let me pull this image up. Now, this is an old image. Don't read too much into this. This is super, super old. But I mean, you see an Idris down here. This is the old model Idris, but they do have it listed at 240 meters. But you can see some of the other Vandal ships. Now, again, these are old concepts, but you can see how big some of the Vandal ships are, right? Again, not sure if this is the follow-through, if this is what CIG is going to continue on with in terms of Vandal ship size, but there's some big Vandal ships out there. So technically, technically a Vandal pack could be really, really expensive, right? Really expensive. So Steve Luce, thank you for the follow on YouTube. Appreciate that. Or for the subscription on YouTube. Appreciate that. Another question here, but I hope they do. I think there's a lot of Vanduul fans out there. I know Bops is going to be on the Info Runners broadcast tomorrow as well, and he's like a Vanduul expert. So, there's a lot of Vanduul fans out there. Hudson Hawk says, question, we have plenty of modders we can interact with in-game to make it easier to get familiar with ships without renting or buying them. It would be great to have a system like Wikipedia, one that provides information and clear comparisons. So, yeah, we're going to get that. We're going to get that. So the Galactopedia that we can access online, that is coming in-game. It's going to be a MobiGlass app. We just don't know when it's coming. So Avenger 1 says, it's mostly rookies. Oh, okay, on the flight model testing? That's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting, that whole testing group, actually. I'm be interested to hear Yogi talk a little bit more about that, and was it a good experience, bad experience? Interesting. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, Hudson Hawk, the Galactopedia will come in-game. They've talked about that a few times. It's been a little while since they've talked about it. They used to talk about it a lot when they had that lore girl on. Cherry, was her name Cherry? I think. Okay, next here. Citizen Ninja says, question, any chance we'll get an update on data running and hacking tomorrow? I don't know. I know a lot of people are pretty convinced that we are going to get hacking or some sort of hacking stuff coming. I don't know about that. And here's the reason why. If we were going to get hacking, I feel like we would be getting the Legionnaire. We know the Legionnaire was sidelined. Now, maybe they've started it back up. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. So, yeah. I don't think hacking. I think hacking is next year. I do think hacking is next year. I don't know if we're going to get a lot about it tomorrow. Maybe some. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'd correct that and say maybe. Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible. We could get, because if it's next 12-month stuff, I could see that being a thing. I could see that being a thing that they talk about. The real question, I think, is on scanning. That's the one that I think we're closer to, and I think that we're closer to it, and I think what we're going to hear about is the physicalization of data. So scan data, all that kind of stuff. I think we're going to get some information on the physicalization of data and how that ties into scanning gameplay. And I do think scanning is coming sooner rather than later, because I think we need that already in game in order to be able to step off and do base building. I think that's going to be I think scanning will be an integral part of base building. So it's something that we're going to see, right? Real quick here, next question from Dealer Dragon. Question, do you think if they drop the new Vandal ships, we'll see the current models get updated at the same time? I would think so. That's my speculation. If we do get the Stinger, I would think they would update the rest of the Vandal ships. I'm speculating wildly there, but I think so. Real quick, everybody. Let me pause real quick before I go to the next question. Our good buddy Ender is in chat. And as you know, he's going through a bit of a tough time right now. And he's going through a bit of a tough time. He's moving. He lost his job. He's without work. He's trying to get back on his feet. He's going through a divorce. He's trying to manage all of that. He's just under a lot of stress right now. So if you want to help the boy out, go to this GoFundMe. Help him out. Support him if you can. If you can't, that's okay. Don't stress yourself out. But if you can, give a little. I'm sure you would be a big boon for him. So yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that. GoFundMe. It's secure, obviously. Many of you know Ender. He's been on many a show in the past, and has done a lot for charity himself in regards to St. Jude. As you know, a lot of the St. Jude Starjump stuff was started by him, carried through by him. So he himself is in a time of need, and it goes a long way. Thank you, everybody. I will post those again. Looks like Ender was able to pin that, so thank you very much. Let me go back to my questions here. Okay. And we'll talk, we'll bring that up a few more times. Don't worry. I'm going to hit it every little bit. Okay. By the way, got a good crowd tonight. 60 over on Twitch and 160 on YouTube. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Cal Doom says, question, do you think they might no warning drop Knicks tomorrow, or at least get a Knicks update? Well, I definitely think we're getting a Knicks update. 100% think we're getting a Knicks update. Let me back up a little bit on the Knicks question for a minute here. For those of you that watch the stream or have watched the stream, you will know that I've been talking about Knicks coming soon for about a year. And I'll just be totally honest with you. What was it? Last IAE, I think VMXEO is in chat. Last IAE, some Knicks files went into the game. Okay. Like the entirety of Levski. And ever since then, there have been updates and additional stuff popping up about it. I think Knicks has been being worked on for actually a lot longer than we think. If you go all the way back to 2023, they were posting Knicks updates in the subscriber vault. Okay. Their test stream today had Knicks colors. Yeah, I mean, I think Knicks is coming. The question is it going to PU or PTU? I think what they're going to announce is it's going to PTU. That's probably the smarter thing to do. So, yeah, that's what I think. I think it's about as guaranteed as one could get. But I don't think it'll be a surprise drop in the PU. I think it'll be a surprise drop in the PTU. Hudson Ox says, for bounty hunting gameplay, there needs to be a way to restrain your target, twist their arms behind their back, put on handcuffs, and somehow transfer them into cryopods. In medical gameplay, it will probably also be necessary to interact with another player's body. How easy do you think this will be to implement, and do you imagine it working? Well, from the non-lethal stuff, I see them just having to put the non-lethal stuff in the game. That's really going to be a series of animations and non-lethal and restraining gameplay things for NPCs. For players, I think if they are not currently if they don't currently have a bounty on them, then I think they have to agree to that interaction. If they do have a bounty on them, I think you will be able to restrain them, but there'll be a countdown timer. Hey, XQ, hope you're well. Nice to see you. I watched your stream earlier today. As you know, I popped in there for a bit. Great stream as always. Moving along here, though. Question from Stunlock Donuts. Do you think we'll get more bespoke kits? Yep, 100%. I think we're going to get quite a few bespoke kits this CitizenCon, possibly this IAE. I think those are going to be a big thing. I think they sold pretty well at Invictus, so I think we're going to see a lot more of those, 100%. Easy. Dealer Dragon says, question, do you think they'll do another shot of Hopium for the BMM owners? Well, we just got a shot of Hopium for the BMM when they talked about it at the Ship Showdown Q&A, which is where they said that possibly end of year, second half of year next year, it will go into pre-production or development. It's possible they could mention that. I think they would light the place on fire if they show another silhouette video and there's a merchantman in the silhouettes. That would be a crazy thing, and it'd be wild. It'd be wild if they did that. It really would. I still would prefer the Kraken, which we know the Kraken's in development. But if they showed the BMM in the silhouette video, it would be stupid. I mean, people would go crazy. They really would. But they got to be careful. If they show it, they really need to put it in development, because if they put it on ice again, people are going to be pissed. Okay. Oh, real quick, everyone. I wanted to highlight something real quick here that I'm sad to see, and I did want to talk about it a little bit. Stand by, everybody. It looks like it's already gone. Those of you may know Starship 42, another fleet viewing site. Lunfasi has closed Starship 42 and shut it down, possibly bringing it back in the future, but shut it down. I don't know the reason for it. I do know, and one thing I was always hated is that I did see people out there, both Starjump fans and Starship 42 fans, and they would post things like, I like this one better than that one. And to me, I never understood that. I used Starship 42, or did up until last week. They do very, very different things. They were not the same. Yes, they both showed your fleets, but they also did completely different features. So I never understood why people were fans of one and hated the other, and why not just use both of them? I never understood that. Like, I never understood that. There was a pros and cons to both experiences. But regardless, Lunfasi has shut down Starship 42. I'm personally sad to see it go. I don't know if someone else will try to take it over. Yeah, it's just sad. I think it's sad anytime a Star Citizen Tools website shuts down. And I think that was one of the originals. For those of you who don't know, Starship 42 is what inspired Starjump Fleet Viewer. 100% inspired it. Like, I used Starship 42 all the time. And when I knew I wanted to do a Fleet Viewer, that was the direct inspiration. So Byron Hall says base building soon. Yeah, I think base building's coming next year. I do. I was told, and I know that Ender can back me up on this. I was told that, and I was told this like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, by someone placed within CIG, I was told that base building will come with Nix. I was told that. That doesn't mean it's how it's going to officially happen, but I was told when Nix comes into the game, base building's coming into the game. Okay, I was told this a long time ago. I was a little bummed when I was actually told that, because I was like, oh God, we're going to be waiting 10 years for that then. But honestly, looks like it could be working out to that timeline. So there you go. Aka says, question, how far is base building and how do we see it affecting the game, player behavior, small, medium groups? We don't know how far along it is. Last CitizenCon, they showed an in-engine demo of it working in the game, in the client, and it seemed to work pretty well. Obviously, that was probably still pretty early. I think they've done quite a bit of work to it, though. They know it's a core key feature. I think we could see it land in PTU this year sometime. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty certain we will. I don't know if it's first half, second half. In terms of how it will affect the game, I think it will fundamentally change everything about Star Citizen. I think the game itself will reorientate and recenter itself around base building. I think base building will become the key cornerstone anchor for this game. Lava G Fan just rated with 15 viewers. Lavan, thank you very much. Salute to you. I hope you had a great stream tonight. Thank you for sending your community over here to hang out with us tonight. We are talking, we're talking Star Citizen or CitizenCon expectations. Let's see here. Giving a little shout out to you there, buddy. Thanks very much. Thank you for the raid. I do appreciate it. I hope you had a great stream tonight. So yeah, I think that base building is going to fundamentally change this game, in all good ways. For one, it's going to, if you remember back, when CIG showed how gameplay loops would work in the original CitizenCon demo. I don't know if I have a picture up. Let me see. Bear with me. I don't think I have one ready. But either way, they showed that sort of how a gameplay loop would work. They used base building as the anchor. They used that as the entire reason for why you would be playing the game. So I think it's going to be core. I think it's going to be critical. Lavon says, I did super tried, been working since the 4th of so. Oof. Hopefully you can kind of relax. Thank you for that raid again, buddy. I appreciate it. C Daddy CIG in chat. Thanks for hanging out tonight, CIG, C Daddy. I said it in reverse that time because my mind is trying to read something while I said C Daddy, I hope you're well, buddy. Buddy, he says, we ready for tomorrow? I'm ready. I'm very ready, but I do have a complaint, C Daddy, that I would like to lobby for changes next year. Every CitizenCon lands, no matter what day it is, always lands on my daughter's birthday party day. So tomorrow is my daughter's birthday party. So of course it's super busy, super crazy, and that is when CitizenCon is landing, which makes it kind of difficult, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna work it out. I'm gonna work it out. I'll deal. I'll be okay. I'll deal with it. See, Daddy, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Dealer Dragoons asked the best question anyone can ask. So we're going to go ahead and talk about it. Dealer Dragoon, are you still in chat? Hopefully you are. Dealer Dragoon asks, again, the best question anyone can ask. Dealer Dragoon says, how soon do you think the Kraken will drop? Next year at least? And how much will it go up in price? Well, I will say this. I don't know how much it will go up in price, but I assume it will go up to about $2,300, probably. Well, how much is it? How much is the war bond? 1,600? It could probably go up to like 1,800, 1,900, maybe 1,900, right? Same price as the Idris, I think, is where I would see it going. Is the Idris 1,900? Yeah, I'd see it hitting the same. In terms of how soon do I think it will drop? It's so crazy. You know what? I can't honestly, excuses, careful Starjump. This C Daddy CIG trolls. He's the C Daddy is one of the nicest people ever. See how I see how I threw that compliment in there. Guardian, nice to see you. Guardian, everyone, if you like good Star Citizen content, make sure you check out the Info Runners, obviously. Make sure you check out Guardian's channel on YouTube, obviously. Two amazing content creators. I don't follow a lot of Star Citizen content creators, believe it or not. I do not follow and subscribe to a lot of them, but those are two that I do, so make sure you check them out. In terms of when do I think it will drop, I honestly don't know. I mean, we're going to get the Ironclad, as VMXEO says, before the Kraken. I've said many times I think the Ironclad is coming for DefenseCon next year, so around May. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not, but I think around May. The soonest we would see the Kraken is IAE next year, but I really think that's a tall order. Unless they are just throwing a mountain of people at it, like a really large team, I just don't see it getting done in 12 months or 14 months from now. It is a really, really big ship on a scale that we haven't seen in Star Citizen in quite some time. So it's a tricky one. I mean, the hopium crazed idiot side of myself says, yes, next IAE. I just really think that would be a tall order. I will say this, I am totally fine with them taking their time on building it because I want it to be great. The Kraken is my favorite ship, as you all know. So I want it to be great. Byron Hall says battle cruiser. Yeah, so this is something kind of funny. The battle cruiser obviously was mentioned during the Ship Showdown Q&A. And it was talked about as if it possibly could be the final concept ship we get. But it was also talked about a little bit as if, see, you could read into it a lot of ways. I read into them mentioning it at all as a sign that it's probably going to be revealed at some point soonish. Soonish could be any time from now to or tomorrow to 2 years from now. But I did get the feeling that the entire reason they even brought it up was that it's going to be talked about at some point or revealed or a concept pledge for it. I would tell you this. If the battle cruiser was revealed, I would be very interested in not only the details of the ship, but what type of gameplay CIG sees it plugging into. Ultimately, I think the Javelin and Battlecruiser would directly play into Station space station warfare, like attacking another group's space station, for sure. But so there is a clear gameplay loop there for it. The gameplay loop is just a ways off. But if CIG surprised us and came out with a battle cruiser concept pledge, maybe. I mean, I would more expect that for Invictus next year. But you know, I don't know. I don't know. I'll add on this question from I50MM. Says, question, Battlecruiser will be straight to flyable or the last concept as they are moving away from selling JPEGs? I'm okay with it being the last concept or a concept. I've been pretty vocal on my channel in saying that I don't mind concepts. I know a lot of people don't like them. I don't mind them. By the way, thank you 3D Imagination for the follow. Appreciate that. I don't mind concept ships as long as there's a limit. So if a concept ship comes out, I think it should go. I think it should be put into production within 2 years of the concept being revealed. Hirsch Dream said stretch. Okay, stretch complete. Thank you very much, and thank you for that follow. I appreciate it. I'm just not totally against concepts as long as there's a limit to how long they're in the concept phase. I think concept ships allow the players to sort of talk about those ships and talk about those ideas. It allows CIG to read those comments and pull ideas from them. When ships go just straight to flyable immediately, I do feel like we lose a little bit of that back and forth. Because I do imagine that John Crew and Ben Curtis and all those guys, I do imagine they read some of the Spectrum posts and Reddit posts about ships, and maybe they take some cues from that. Not everything, but some cues. So I don't know. Moving on. Arbiter of Mankind says, question, do you think the Stinger will be another golden ticket event? I think the Asperia Stinger will not be. I think that could just be a ship that's sold. But I have a feeling there could be an event with a golden ticket-like plugin that allows you to get a captured Vanduul Stinger. So, yeah. Rory Red says, wonders why Grim doesn't try integrate some of the same verse tools from Starship 42 like the Org Fleet among other tools. Stay tuned. Stay tuned on that. Cosmic Sea Turtle says, question, do you think we will get Nix for CITCON or will it be something smaller like a playtest? We talked about that earlier. I think they'll announce Nix for a PTU. So coming to PTU like very soon. Very, very soon. Sooner rather than later. But I think coming to the PTU first, and I do think it will come 2025. Temple says, chances of physical goodies pack this year like the last few years? I don't think so. There could be some new merch. There could be some new merch, maybe. Could be some new merch. Rascal says, question, do you think the Perseus will be size 8 or 7 weapons? And if 8, do you think they'll be far too overpowered when seeing how strong the Idris T size 7 front cannons are? I'm thinking it's size 8. We heard that they had been upgraded to dual size 8 ballistic cannons, and those cannons were named Medusa. I think it was Medusa cannons, size 8 Medusa cannons. There's a little bit of speculation involved in that, but if that is accurate, then I could see them being bumped up to size 8. The ship is supposed to be a brawler. If you go back and look at a lot of the write-ups on it, it's supposed to be a brawler. It's supposed to get in there, hit hard, and take hits hard. That's sort of the entire ethos behind the ship. So I could see that. Hudson Hawk says, do you think we'll ever get underwater operations or even bases? No, I don't think we will. Or not for a very long time. That's what I'm thinking. Not for a very long time. Blue Fang says, question, with the Perseus development wrapping up, what large RSI ship do you think will get developed next? Galaxy, Arastra, Constellation Rework, or other? I think, honestly, if they're going to do anything, they'll probably try to bring the Constellation series up to gold standard. I still think they're going to wait on the Galaxy and the Arastra. I don't think they're moving into those right away. I think we're going to see a pause. And they're going to focus on some other ships. Power Pixie says, do you think the Pioneer will increase in price? Yes, of course. Definitely. Definitely. It would shock me if this CitizenCon or IAE, it does not go up in price a decent amount. $200-300 even. It would not shock me. It's if the Pioneer is not it end up somewhere in the $1,500 mark, I would just be really confused on what the method is for pricing ships the way they price them. If the Idris, which again, really cool ship, but let's be honest, won't be as important to the future of the game as the Pioneer, then I'm really confused on what how that pricing stuff works. Just really confused. By the way, Starjump Ender did send me something, a Reddit post. I am going to get to that here in just a few minutes. I just want to get through a few more questions here, and then we'll talk about a few things too. Dillman says, have you named your Kraken? Yes, I have. I have named it. I'm not going to say it because I don't want anyone to steal it, but I have named it. Hudson Hawk says, Grim, do you believe we will ever see underwater operations or even bases? Did I answer that already? I can't remember. No, I don't think we will, personally. Personally, I don't think we will. Arbiter of Mankind says, question, will we have any form of dynamic server meshing talk at CitizenCon? So that's a good one. That's a great question. I actually think we will. I don't think it's going to be like a full unveiling of it, but I do think there's going to be a core tech or tech discussion phase of CitizenCon. And I do think there's going to be a mention of positive work going on in the dynamic server meshing front. Okay, we've heard that dynamic server meshing is required for 1.0 or the plan for 1.0. I think they're going to say something to sort of reinforce the idea that work is going on for dynamic server meshing and the work is exciting and positive and all that kind of stuff. I think it's going to be something like that. Dillman says, do you think the Medusa cannons will be available in other sizes for other ships or exclusive to the Perseus? I think the Medusas are specifically the size 8 ballistic cannons, if that's what indeed they are. If there's other bespoke weapons, I think they're just going to be named something different. So I think the Medusa is probably specifically to that size cannon. So Parker XGPS says, question, more or less silhouettes than last year? I don't know. I think I'm just hoping there are silhouettes this year. I think Execute said it in his stream today that he really hopes there are silhouettes because it provides so much content for us. And I really wholeheartedly agree with Execute on that. The silhouettes, I think, are one of the coolest parts of CitizenCon. There's just a lot of there's a lot of content creator discussion over the next year generated from that. Hell, I think CIG should do silhouette videos for other things too, like possibly locations, FPS weapons, etc. You know what I mean? Like they could do that for guns, whatever else. So, yeah. Asime says, question, does that mean it will count as limited hull and get LTI? Because I have 6-month Pioneer. So regarding the Pioneer, do I think it will be limited hull and thus get the LTI after it crosses the $1,000 mark? I guess by default, I would say yes, although I don't think there's any real reason CIG needs to just hold that line. I know currently all ships over $1,000 kind of automatically get the LTI, but there's nothing that says CIG has to do that. They could change the way they do things, right? So yeah. Rabbit says, what do you think the breakdown of CITCON will be this year? An hour of tech talk, 30 minutes of ships, 30 minutes of CRRT speech. I mean, I'm speculating wildly here, but if I had to guess, I think it could be, let's see. I think we'll get 30 minutes of Genesis stuff, right? So 30 minutes of the Planet Tech V5 stuff. I think we're going to hear a little bit about that. We're definitely going to get 30 minutes of ships. I think that has to be there. That is your way the game is financed right now. So I think that. So Planet Tech V5, ships, Nix, and then I think the next thing will just be a systems highlight of some various features coming into the game. So new inventory, maybe scanning. It'll just sort of be a hodgepodge of that. That's what I'm thinking. But again, really tight timeline there. Let's continue on here. Let's see. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really interested to see how this is. I hope it doesn't feel too anemic, but I don't think it will. I think that's going to be I think it's going to be too concentrated hours. InfoRunner says it's a money laundering law in the U.S. and they did it before with the Endeavor Master Set price increase. Starjump. Yeah. So in that case, maybe we do get the LTI. I mean, the LTI is an in-game thing, though. I mean, LTI isn't real. It's a made up thing. So all I'm saying is I don't think LTI has to be applied to a ship. The LTI insurance thing is just a made up in-game feature. It doesn't have any like real monetary, any sort of real monetary factors in terms of like law. So that part, I don't know. But I could be wrong. I don't know. You can't ask me these types of questions. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know. Let's continue on though here. Etho50 says, do you think we'll get the Javelin soon as we have the Idris already? And when do we get the updated Squadron ones? So you updated exteriors on Squadron ones. I hope we get those soon. The Idris desperately needs it. I love CIG. I love the ship team. They do incredible work. I've said it many, many times. I've donated or dedicated many, many shows to the ships. 100%. The Idris needs updated. Its exterior texture work is pretty bad, so it needs updated. In terms of the Javelin, I worry CIG's sort of letting us have a lot of the Idris stuff they were holding on to already, especially if they give us Vandal updates soon. So they may want to hold on to something, which I could see it being the Javelin. But if Squadron's still planning on coming out next year, maybe that just means we get the Javelin with the launch of Squadron. So it could be coming rather soon. Arbiter says, question, I imagine they can't do base building without DSM, dynamic server meshing. Do you think dynamic server meshing would come first, or the base is just stuck in one server for the first few iterations? That's a good question. I don't know. I guess I would say that you're probably right. I could see dynamic server meshing being important to base building. However, since we're still technically in alpha testing, CIG could release base building with static server meshing, knowing that they're going to be wiping this stuff anyway, so that when they move to dynamic, they wipe it and we're all building our bases again. I mean, we're going to have to do that anyways. They're going to wipe the game regardless. So, yeah. Xander says, how much do you think CIG will raise the next player cap per server? I think it'll go to 800 players, from 600 to 800. Pasternak says, do you think we'll get ship armor updates with the Perseus? No, not beyond what they're already doing. I don't think so. Question, what names have you used to name any nameable ships, and what will your name for the Perseus and Kraken be? Well, I won't give away my Kraken name because I don't want it to be taken. I can say for my Corsair, it's called Silverhawk, which is a nod to an 80s TV show. My Carrack is called Starjump. My Reclaimer is called Conqueror, which I love that name for the Reclaimer, Conqueror. So yeah, there you go. I don't know what I'd name the Perseus. I haven't thought about that yet. Parker says, with no more concept sales, think we might get more ship concept teases pre-sale like the build. Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll keep doing that. And they kind of already are. They kind of already tease some of these ships without those concept sales behind them. You know what I mean? That's something that is sort of happening. It's happening in kind of a softer way, but it is something that's happening. So, Dayron says, questions or chances of something very much unexpected, like a straight to flyable that no one knows about. I sure hope so, Dayron. I was talking to VMXEO today, and I was saying that I really hope there's some surprises. I know we've heard about the Stinger, we've heard about the Shiv, we know the Paladin's coming, but I hope CIG has some surprises. I wouldn't mind if the Shiv or even the Stinger are just red herrings and maybe they're coming out with something that totally surprises. I think that would be cool. Dillman says, what do you not want to see at CitizenCon? I don't want to say anything about Starware. I do like Starware. It just doesn't excite me. It's not one of those features that excites me. I think that's just that feature is going to excite me when it drops in game, but I don't necessarily need 30 minutes of it in CitizenCon. And it's an important system, by the way. It's hard to show clothing and make that exciting in the very short CitizenCon runtime. Sea Turtle says, what is your wildest dream? What you hope for the most with the Kraken we work? Primarily, I just hope for freight elevators from the actual flight deck that go down and take cargo from the flight deck to the main cargo hold, and or cargo elevators that move the cargo down and easy access to the air car, the cargo air car. I think those freight elevators can just be flat on the surface of the deck. And when you place cargo, on that designated area, some bars come up and it just sinks down, bringing the cargo down. But I hope that's part of the rework, because if anything showed us, if the freight elevators or if cargo elevators within ships have shown us anything, it's that they are important and a much needed thing in all ships. So yeah, that's probably the thing I hope for the most. Griffith says, do you still think the Perseus will get some sort of weapons kit, i.e. beam or energy weapons? I think so. I think Execute is of the same mind. Guardian, I'm not sure what you think. Yes, I think the Perseus will get some sort of bespoke weapon kit to further customize it beyond its ballistics weapons. So yeah, I do think that's coming. Hudson Ox says, I believe that when we get Nyx, Castra, and Terra, CIG should create at least one system. Just a minute, everybody. Create at least one system every year. Do you think that's possible? Looking at the star map on the site, they seem to have huge plans. The plans we might never see if they keep moving. Do I think it's possible to get a system a year? Yes, I do, actually. It's important to note a couple things. One, not every system is as big and complicated as Stanton or even Pyro or Terra. There are some simple systems. I think we're going to see that a little bit in Nyx and Castra. I actually think Nyx and Castra are going to come out a little closer to each other, because I think those two systems are a little bit a smaller lift for the locations team to deal with. So yeah, a smaller lift. So I think we're going to see that. I think we are going to see that in Nyx and Castra, and then extrapolate that out to other systems. There's a lot of systems in Star Citizen that are not super in-depth and complicated, right? Super Shoe says, would they release base building with patches, still resetting everything every month? Base building will be in patches. I'm sure we're going to get the first patch will be some sort of like not a tier 0 implementation, but like an implementation of it that's a little bit more restrained. It might focus on small and medium bases, and then maybe a couple patches later they do large bases. Couple patches later we're doing extra large bases. So I think there will be a build. Yeah, Guardian, 100% agreed. They very clearly alluded to bespoke weapon customization. Arbiter of Mankind says, do you think Castra in 2026 end of year would be realistic? End of next year, do I think that is realistic? No, I don't think that's realistic. I think Castra by end of 2026 would be pretty aggressive. Not impossible, but really, really aggressive. If I had to guess, we could have an announcement that Castra is going into PTU end of 2026, or going into testing soon, but I don't think it would be like in the PU established and all that by the end of 2026. I think 2026 is going to be a focus on fixes, updates, and further population of the Nix system. And then while Castra is being worked on in the background, obviously, but we, Castra itself, though, won't be coming into, the game, I think, till maybe 2027 sometime. That's my guess. I'm being a little pessimistic on it, but that's what I'm thinking. It wasn't a lot of the stuff they showed us at CitizenCon. Like if I fast forward here, a lot of the stuff they showed us here was in pre-production, right? There was some gray box stuff as well. So just extrapolating that out. But here's the other thing to think about with locations. Remember, all the locations for Squadron 42 are done, right? They've been done. So all those locations team members, those locations developers from Squadron, they're working on Star Citizen probably now. So I think we might see a much increased tempo of location work from CIG moving forward. Hersher says the Perseus from the ISC at the beginning of the year was an animated white box asset from the concept stage, right? It says here, so the Perseus from the Inside Star Citizen at the beginning of the year was an animated white box asset from the concept stage, right? We actually haven't seen anything from the Perseus except for that one still image, and that was Lot Zero. I don't remember seeing a white box version of the Perseus. Does anyone else remember seeing a white box of the Perseus? If I missed that, then that is something I would want to see. I don't remember seeing a white box pass of the Perseus. Oh, it was you mean the silhouette? Oh, okay, yeah, the silhouette. Yeah, that was the silhouette. It was hard to tell if it had been changed or updated in any way, though. Oh, Jacob says, do you think the battle cruiser will be bigger than the Javelin and Bengal? Potential price? I think it'll sit between those two. I don't think it'll be the size of the Bengal. I think it'll be somewhere around 650 meters. That's what I'm thinking, somewhere around there. So it'll sit in between the Javelin and the Bengal. Arbiter says, when can we actually use the armor stands in our ships? That's a good question. I think when they make suits matter. They do matter right now, but they don't have quite the impact they're supposed to have, and we don't have the limitations for them. So originally CIG talked about you were not going to be able to wear the heavy suits and while you're flying your ship. So stuff like that, when that comes in, I think we will see the suit lockers come into play. Oh, Jacob asked an interesting question here. It says, what do you think the gameplay of the Nautilus will look like? How will mines function and be useful? Well, I think we will see mines be used in creative ways. And that's one reason why I hope CIG does get them in game sooner rather than later, so that we can test how players use mines. Are they effective? If they're not effective, how do we rethink mines to be effective? I do think with space stations, minefields will be really important. I could see setting up minefields around space stations, and since they do degrade over time, I could see Nautiluses just every now and then re-putting that minefield out there, recovering old mines, putting new ones out there. So I think that a Nautilus could be really, really important. For those of you that don't know, I do own a Nautilus. It's one of the ships I'm really, really excited about. I do think the Nautilus needs some updates, though, especially in its ordnance size, but that's another topic for another day. Pasternak says, do you think they will release the ship armor alongside the Perseus? That question was asked before. No, I don't think so. I think we're going to keep the same system we currently have for a longer. I think they're waiting for Maelstrom before any like real armor stuff comes in. Sugar Snake says, question, Perseus release with internal loading mechanism working for ammo. That's a good question. I didn't think about that. My answer is no. I don't think it'll come alongside. We haven't heard anything about it. You're talking about manual loading for ballistics. We just haven't heard anything about it. Yeah. Haven't heard anything about it. What other questions we got? Super Shoe says, I think you understood my question. Gear and ships get reset every patch. Would they release base building with bases getting wiped with each patch? Oh, well, if we're in alpha, yes. Because it may not be it may not be wiped every patch, but we know we're going to eventually get a wipe when we go from alpha to beta or possibly beta to 1.0. There's no way they can't not wipe them because they've got to reset the game back to 0 so that everyone is starting the game fresh and fair, right? So, yeah. Guardian says, with the Hammerhead performing so poorly, in my opinion, I can see it being an upgrade basis for the Nautilus post-release. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, hopefully I answered your question, Super Shoe. And Kasune says, question, are cities like Lorville and Orson actually built out, or is everything we see beyond our current walking paths just a JPEG? No, it's real. Yeah, it's real. I mean, some of it is lower fidelity than you would want if you were actually walking in first person, but it is real. There's no fake JPEGs. Asume says, do you think the Odyssey will come within next year or after 1.0? No, I think the Odyssey is before 1.0, but I'm not sure if it's next year. If we do get in a silhouette video, the two ships that I think could make an appearance in the silhouette video that would get people really, really excited would be the Banu Merchantman and the Misk Odyssey. Are they coming? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I think they could move into the Odyssey simply because so much work has been done on the Starlancer series that I could see CIG moving into the to the Odyssey and bringing over a lot of those parts and pieces. So, continuing on here, Hirsch says, do you think we need C4 or IEDs in game so that ground personnel can deactivate medium ships without needing to shoot through its doors and able to? So you're thinking about breaching charges, stuff like that. I do think we're getting breaching charges of some type, for sure. I also do think we need ground mines and other things like that, especially when we get bases. We need to be able to put mines out and do whatever defensive things are needed to protect our bases. So 100%. 100% think that needs to happen. Zero says, should we expect a reveal of Alpha 5.0 content? That's an interesting way of thinking about it. CitizenCon could be centered around Alpha 5.0, and maybe Alpha 5.0 is the onset of Nyx, right? How Alpha 4.0 was the onset of Pyro. Maybe Nyx is the onset of 5.0, and maybe the entire presentation is centered around Star Citizen 5.0. I didn't think about that. But I think that's a great point. I think that's an amazing point. Real quick here. Says here, if I'm just going to have some B-roll playing everybody. What B-roll should I play here? We'll play some more of Nyx here in the background. Why not, right? Old Jacob says, if you could ask Chris Roberts a question for CitizenCon, what would it be? Oh, that is a great question. If I could ask Chris Roberts a question for CitizenCon, I think I would ask him when he supposedly spoke to that one journalist and said 2027, 2028 for Star Citizen 1.0, was he misconstrued, or does he actually have that hope and desire? That'd probably be the question I asked him. Arbiter says, how many systems do you see this game having post 1.0? We know 100 systems is not realistic. Yeah, I think if they could get to, I actually see them taking it in 5 system increments. So we get those first 5 systems. I think the next goal for the locations team should be the next 5 systems. And then after that, another 5 systems, right? After they've gotten 10, 15 systems out, I would hope their tools are so just zeroed in at that point that they can create a system in about a quarter, right? And they get to a place where maybe per year they can do 3 or 4 systems, right? That's probably ambitious. I'm talking years out from now. I would hope that those tools get so zeroed in that they can just bust through stuff like that. VM says, ask CR what he's most excited about right now. See, Daddy, get CR on the phone immediately. Let's ask him. So yeah, that's what I think, Arbiter. Um, Zedjara says, do you think the mini Corsair is coming this year? The one shown at last year's CitizenCon? That's a great question. You know, there's still a number of ships we have not seen. We have not seen or heard anything about. I'll pop some of those up for those that need a little bit of a brief reminder on what's being talked about here. The first one, obviously, being the Drake Mini Corsair or the Drake Flappy Bird, or perhaps the Gray Market ship. We don't know what this is, but it's a ship that myself, VMXEO, and other content creators, I know Guardian as well, have speculated wildly about this ship a lot. We're also waiting to hear more about this ship, which we all surmise is a medium consolidated outland ship. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I hope we hear about them soon. We know they're in production. These are two ships I would love to hear more about at CitizenCon or IAE, because I think there's been so much speculation around these two ships. I think Execute would definitely agree with me on that. Next here. ACOS says, what do you know about the Grays market and the Shiv? Have you heard about a possible chop shop which modifies ships and components? So I don't know anything about Gray's market. In regards to the Shiv, we let's see here. Let me bring it up. In terms of the Gray market, or sorry, in terms of the Shiv, there's a lot of speculation on what it is. There is a video. I don't know if I have it up real quick here. Let me see if I do. I may not have it handy. So if I don't, I apologize. Yeah, I don't know if I have it handy. There's some screenshots floating around from one of the Squadron 42 videos that does show some kind of ships that look like they're chopped up from multiple ships. So absolutely, I think some people assume it's that. You'll probably recognize them because there's one that sort of looks like a chopped up Cutlass Black. There's another one that sort of looks like a chopped up Hornet. You know, they're a little weird. Griffin Gaming RPG, greetings to you. I hope you're well, buddy. Everybody give Griffin Gaming a big old salute. We love them. So yeah, there's been some hints and stuff thrown around about some possible gray market type ships, some chop shop ships. So I think it'd be really fun. I think it'd be really fun if CIG did something like that. VG says 1.0 reset. Do you think it's a hard and fast, or do you think it's hard and fast? What about Wicklow items in game, earned in game? Is there a technical reason for it, or is it just perception of a fair start for all? I think it's just the perception. I think CIG is going to do something that allows us to carry some things over, but ultimately, I think there has to be a reset. I think there has to be. I think there could be some sort of program CIG does, though, that allows us to carry some progress over, but I don't know what that looks like. There's already a lot of discussions around the game being in a weird place for fairness at the start with all the ships sold. So, Ethos says, with base building on the way, are we likely to see the Arastra or maybe even the Orion into production to assist in resource gathering? So when talking about ships like the Hull D, the Orion, the Arastra, the Reclaimer, these large industrial and commercial ships, a lot of times you look and you go, there's really no need for that ship. You know, me and Execute walked through the entire backlog just recently. And we would say that, well, the gameplay is not there. The scale of gameplay for this ship is not there yet. But what will bring that scale of gameplay into the verse is base building, and especially space stations. CIG talked about the massive amount of resources required to build those structures. So I 100% think that base building is going to be the thing that brings those larger industrial, larger commercial ships into the game. Because we're going to need that scale of resource, right? We're going to need that scale of resource. By the way, everyone, thank you for all hanging out tonight. You're absolutely amazing on Twitch. We have 85 on Twitch. Absolutely amazing. We have 208 on YouTube. How incredible is that? Thank you, everybody, for your support. You know I love you. Thank you for supporting Starjump. Really appreciate you. Let's see here. Getting some things switched up. Antillo, question. Do you think they will introduce a game mechanic with the release of the Liberator where you can create a loadout of ships and vehicles parked already on the pads and garages? Like be able to repair, rearm, refuel, or essentially rearm them, right? I think you mean that. I do. We've heard recently that they are wanting to do that, right? We've heard that they are wanting to get the repair, rearm, refuel stuff coming to those capital ships. You know, they talked about it in regards to the Polaris hangar, and I think they'll talk about it to more, to more stuff. By the way, everyone, don't forget the GoFundMe link posted above. Let's help Ender out. He is in the throes of moving. He has lost his job. He's currently unemployed. He's been trying hard to get a new job. Things are tricky out there right now. As you all know, Ender has done a lot of work for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, did a lot of charity work on his own and getting it going within the Starjump ethos as well, in the Starjump world, getting the charity stuff going. So make sure you support Ender. Go that GoFundMe. Do what you can. I know he'll appreciate it. He's one of our own, obviously, and going through a tough time right now. So whatever help you can do, if you can do it, is appreciated. If you can't, if you're already tight yourself, don't stress yourself out. But it can go a long way. It can go a long way. Real quick here, everybody, I'm going to pop over real quick here to my questions. I lost them already. Boop, boop. Arbiter of Mankind says, question, in the future, do you think that we will have an ongoing story in Star Citizen akin to the one we have in Helldivers where we can lose and win systems against the Vandal, Banu, and Xi'an? I think it's very possible. I always think back to a game called Chrome Hounds that sort of had a global war going on at any given time that you could alter what was happening there and how, you could affect that global war. Everyone could. I would love CIG to do that. I think their current plan for PvP in Pyro is doing sort of a mini version of that. So I think that's pretty, a little bit telling of where we're going to go. Oh my goodness. Zero State just rated with 171 viewers. Good God almighty. Zero, you absolute maniac. I really appreciate it, buddy. How are you doing? I remember popping in your stream the other day to say hello. I really hope you're doing well, man. Did my shout out work? I don't know if my shout out worked. Why isn't my shout out working? Why isn't my shout out working? Am I an idiot? Oh, man, there it is. Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it. Zero. I hope you're doing well, buddy. How was your stream tonight? Did you get up to anything crazy? 07 to you. Everyone, if you haven't checked out Zero, you are obviously living under a rock and have only just recently popped your head out, because Zero is a very established, very well-known Star Citizen streamer and just an awesome dude. We've had some talks together before. Just a really amazing dude. He does support streamers and content creators that have smaller audiences than him, and I've always really liked that about Zero. He is always good at sending you a shout out and stuff. So Zero, salute to you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thanks for bringing your crowd over here. Everyone who just came in, thanks for hanging out. We are talking about CitizenCon expectations. We're going over a lot of questions. We've talked about a lot of questions already. What we think is coming, what we think may come, what we don't want to come. Again, it's only a 2-hour window tomorrow, so it's going to be a tight one. But yeah, it's going to be a fun day tomorrow for sure. So we're just having fun talking about all the possible information that could be dropping. Arbiter of Mankind question, in the future, do you think that we will have an ongoing story? We just answered that. Yes, Arbiter, I think the answer to that is yes. Zero, thanks once again for bringing your community over here and trusting your community to my channel. I appreciate it. By the way, for those of you that haven't, please follow the Twitch. Give me a follow if you could. If you're over on YouTube, make sure you go to YouTube and follow the YouTube. I'll populate that down right there. It should pop up. If you are over on X or Twitch, whatever you want to call it, make sure you give that a follow too. A lot of the Starjump news comes out over there, so really do appreciate it. And then obviously, if you haven't before, you need to go to StarjumpFleetViewer.com. Mess with your fleets. Check them out. You can do all that stuff over there. Let's keep going. Dire Wolf says, question, you think the new patch will drop tomorrow or next week? I think we'll get patches all through the weekend. I do think we'll get a patch tomorrow. I think we'll get a patch and I think I can't remember where I heard this. I think I heard from someone that we're going to have some patches after CitizenCon as well. I don't know where I heard that. Execute, did I hear that from you? I can't remember. I thought I heard there was going to be some patches after CitizenCon, so we could have some additional stuff all through the weekend. Could be all through the weekend. Oops, stand by. I just lost a question here. Okay, continuing on here. Did I grab that question? Stand by, everybody. I'm moving some windows around. Okay, there we go. All right, continuing on here. Cal Temp says, what are your thoughts on reducing proportionally the range on fighter type craft? Would that give more reason for the carrier type craft? Oh, the range. Okay, I think reducing the range of fighter type aircraft or spacecraft would give more reason for the carrier type craft. So the default answer there is yes, that is why we should need those things. Ultimately, I think CIG is moving away from that because there's gas stations everywhere in the verse, even in systems like Pyro. So what do I think the need for carrier type craft are? I think the carrier type craft are specifically going to be centered around repair, rearm, and refuel. So refuel is part of that, but I think the repairing, the rearming, all that is going to be critical. I think they're going to be the place fighters will go to land, do engineering swap outs, component swap outs, all that stuff without going all the way back to a landing zone. Jay Bird, take it easy. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. So I think that is going to come into play. I do think large capital carriers are going to be essential for station warfare. Again, I think in the future there's going to be Nautiluses that ring stations with mines that are QED mines and EMP mines and all that type of shit, and it's going to shut ships down, and you're going to want to carry ships in and out of the battle, the battle space, in and out of the front line. So I think CIG's got to sort of design around that, but primarily I see ships like the Kraken and Idris and stuff being really a repair, rearm, refuel facility for fighter craft, not just a carrier ship to get them longer distances. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Nail says, I think a refueling raft variant is a no-brainer. It's even already got a little rear station currently for the tractor beam. What's your no-brainer variant you'd love to see? Well, my no-brainer variant. It's a good question. I need to sneeze right now too, so this is going to be hard to answer. My no-brainer variant. My no-brainer variant is a Kraken hospital ship. I think the Kraken is truly the perfect hospital ship, and I would love CIG to do it. I was looking really quick here because you brought up the raft. Now, the raft was designed by our good friend Gavin Rothery, also designed the Kraken, and he had some versions of the raft that were hazardous material freight versions that carried these things. But when I looked at this, I always thought, man, that sort of looks like a refueler, right? So I always thought that this ship would make a good refueler. And I just remember looking at these images here and being like, yep, they need to make that. That's really cool. I dig it. If you're wondering where these pictures are from, these are from Gavin Rothery's Twitter. He posts some concept work and stuff for ships that he works on. So you'll see this. Again, I think this is just a freight ship for hazardous materials, possibly liquid hazardous materials, but the look and stuff would work really well for some sort of refueler type ship. So I don't know. I just always like these again, but I'm a big Gavin Rothery fan, so you know. Okay, moving on here. Azame says, question, when do you think the Reclaimer rework will happen, or ships that desperately need reworks? I think just as they can. The only thing I would say about the Reclaimer one is they do. I personally think they do need to prioritize the Reclaimer. I don't know if Execute's still in chat, but I would think he would agree. And not just because we both love the ship. The Reclaimer is a very important ship right now. The salvage gameplay loop is there. Work has been done on it. And I think that to truly test the current implementation of salvage, we don't necessarily need the updates to the Reclaimer, but the Reclaimer is getting a lot of player usage right now, and it makes sense for CIG to backtrack and sort of get that ship up to par. To me, that ship should be more of a priority, for example, than getting the Hammerhead or the Auroras up to gold standard. Now, I think that was a much easier lift. Obviously, they've said, John Crew has said that the Reclaimer is a much bigger deal to update, but I do think it's actually more important to update that one than those. So that's my thinking. Rock Jack says, how do I hide my finances from my wife after spending $5,000? It's a good question. How are you going to do that? You are going to say that you are funding something never before done. You are funding and supporting something, a cause that could benefit so many people, and that it's never been done. See how it's just perfectly vague there? It sounds really big, like we're causing, curing cancer, but it is a video game. You could word play it like that, I think. Arbiter says, question, do you think that there are some ships where they do the opposite of the ships like the Apollo, where they need to shrink down, like the Hull E? I think 98,000 SC of cargo is insane. Yes, but I don't think it's for a lot of ships. Matter of fact, the Hull E is the only one that kind of doesn't make sense to me. I think they could shrink the Hull E down to something more like 50,000 SCU, and it would make sense. Especially if the Hull D is still around 20,000 SCU. I feel like the Hull E moving to 50,000 SCU makes a lot of sense, right? Makes a lot of sense. XQ says, I think they gonna go back and do the gameplays. They have to do a better standard before 1.0 as they feed base building. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Did I miss any? Okay. Hopefully I'm getting all these, everybody. Kai Dell says, what are your thoughts and expectations for the Perseus as far as when it'll release and where it'll stack up in the meta? Well, I think it'll release. I am pretty... myself and Execute for sure, and I think Guardian as well, have been calling that for quite some time. IAE is where I'm guessing. Don't have any inside information other than it seems to line up for IAE. Could they surprise us with it at CitizenCon? They could, but it makes more sense for IAE. Where do I think it'll sit in the meta? I don't know, because to me, the meta right now is kind of an impossible thing to track, follow, and pay attention to, because it's ever shifting. It's almost by design temporary, especially in an MMO where the meta is always changing. And being in an alpha state of the game, not only is the meta always changing, but the meta is almost always out of step with what the game is going to be, because so many systems are yet to come into it. So I really don't follow the meta as is. I've been pretty vocal in even saying that when I buy ships, I don't buy ships for anything specific other than their role, their general role. So how it will play into the meta remains to be seen. But the important thing is by getting a ship into the game for us to start playing with and testing, we'll start to see where it fits in the meta, where CIG can start to see where it will fit in the meta. Guardian says the Idris will probably be able to one-shot it with a railgun, but still looking forward to the Perseus. Yeah, again, we'll have to see. And once it's in, CIG can start figuring out where they want it to sit. Papa Juggernaut in chat. Papa, I hope you're doing well. Everyone say hello to Papa Juggernaut. Also makes good content. Let's see here. Arbiter of Mankind says, do you think that the tractor beam for ships would be changed to an ATLS type of auto tractor, especially now with the external freight elevator for the hull C? I hope so. I hope all ship tractor beams change into the ATLS version. I really do. Dayron says, question, will the Ares beam weapon be revealed if they start the trend of weapon kits? I really hope so. Again, those of you know, I've talked about many times, I said as much to Ben Curtis on Twitter. He gave the little wink emoji. You can read into that a lot of different ways. I read into it as, yes, we will be getting an Ares beam weapon variant. Don't know when, don't know how, but I see it. I will say this. If we do get an Ares beam weapon variant, I will 100% melt my Inferno and get the beam weapon variant, even if it's the worst ship. So sometimes you just rule of cool it yourself and have to get what you like. Jacob says, if you had the chance to get rid of any ship, what would it be? Not sure if you mean rid of it from my fleet or rid of it from the game, but I'll just take my fleet so as not to hurt anyone's feelings. I would probably like to get rid of my Banu Merchantman, but the problem is because I got it so long ago and I got a little bit of a deal on it from Starlit, it's worth almost nothing. well, like I forget what it is. It's like 180 or $200 or something. I forget, 250. I don't know what it is, but it's like such a good deal that I can't get rid of it, but I probably would like to get rid of it because I don't think the BMM is going to sort of be my ship. As a matter of fact, if I was going to do the marketplace gameplay stuff, I think I would for sure want to do it on a Kraken. Again, the landing pads there, I just think make it the perfect ship for people to visit you, whether it's hospital gameplay, marketplace gameplay, whatever. But great question. AMD 300 says, question, will there be new ships for sale tomorrow? Absolutely. I wouldn't doubt that there would be, namely the Paladin, I think is the most guaranteed one. But yeah, I think there's going to be some new ships for sale. Ethos says, question, I can't remember who I heard talking about it, but do you think they will make a smaller version of the space station we saw last year for smaller orgs? Yeah, 100%. I think you can take that to the bank. I think the space station we saw was sort of the large in-game org-oriented space station. They're going to want to make space stations for smaller groups too. So think... if that was the large org space station, they're going to want small org space stations. And in that regard, I think we'll see something like that. I think we're going to see ships that build those, or maybe ships with large base building drones can build them. So like maybe the build could build that. I think those smaller space stations will not have the ability to be customized quite as much as the large ones. Remember with the large ones where you could put out the extenders and have cargo decks and refinery decks and all that? I think the smaller space stations will be more focused around the idea of a space platform. So you'll be able to do some stuff there, but it's still going to be somewhat limited in nature. And again, able to support a smaller amount of people. So yeah, 100% think that is coming. 1 second here. Let's see here. Kyle Smith says, have you are you able to see anything in the game files yet that indicates that they've made the changes needed to accept liveries for the Gladiator? Curious if that brings with it any facelifts. I haven't seen anything, but I haven't done any data mining myself lately. I do know that someone I talked to talked about some materials changes coming to some ships. I didn't inquire any further than that, so I'm not 100% sure what those materials changes are, but I did hear that there are some materials changes. That is something I did hear, or some maybe the right way to say it is some materials updates. some materials updates. Let's keep going. Do you think the inventory rework will come soon, or is that still a ways to go? You know, that's one of the things they've talked about that I think is actually coming pretty soon. I think we're going to get the inventory rework pretty soon. To me, it is a critical, gameplay feature that needs to come on board. The current inventory is, it's not that it's bad, it's just a chore to work through. It's kind of a slog. Functionally, it kind of does what it needs to do. Visually, it's pretty, but it's got a lot of quality of life issues. It's got some readability issues, and it's got some like intuitive issues. The no stacking thing is terrible. I agree with you, Art. Hey, Art, hope you're well. I have seen you chatting, buddy. I hope you've been enjoying Battlefield. I know you've been checking her out. PC Gamer Radio, what do you think of the BMM variant for the Capital passenger ship, or do you think they'll leave the Capital for the Crusader, the Capital passenger ship for the... I think the BMM will stick to what it does. I don't see a passenger version of that, only because I don't know if the Xeon care too much about... I don't know if the Xeon care too much about passenger touring or anything like that, so I don't think they will. By the way, everyone, real quick, on Sunday, please remember I will be doing some giveaways. I don't know if CIG is going to throw out giveaways to me. We'll see what comes with CitizenCon. But I do have a few giveaways in the form of some CitizenCon goodies packs. So if any of you interested in those CitizenCon goodies back, which they are really good this year, I have a couple of those. I have some, and I also have some patch bundles that I've sort of stocked up on that I plan on giving away. For example, I have the gold and black Pirate Elysium one, and then I have the Blossom pack. I have a couple others, so I'll be doing giveaways on all those. For those of you that don't know, when those patch bundles are off sale, like when the sale ends for those, on the gray market, their value kind of skyrockets. So they're pretty cool for giveaways. So I am planning on doing that Sunday. And then again, if CIG provides any giveaways to me tomorrow or anything, I'll make sure to include them in the Sunday giveaway list as well. So, by the way, great turnout tonight, everybody. 167 over on Twitch. Again, thank you, Zero, for that amazing raid. Really appreciate you. As well as 198 watching over on YouTube. So, again, awesome support. Really appreciate everybody. It's fun to talk Star Citizens. Fun to talk CitizenCon. It's going to be an exciting day. Stressful day tomorrow, but exciting day. Stressful for me because I got to run a kid's birthday party. So, Luke says, question. So the Pioneer can make small ships. What and how are we thinking medium and above size ships will be crafted, or how do we think those will be done? I think those will almost exclusively be done by fabrication hangars. Artorius gave out 5 community subs. Oh my goodness, Artorius, my show producer. Salute to you, buddy. Appreciate it. Artorius has been doing some amazing work on the producing side of my content, getting all my show notes and show schedules organized, and really just taking all that over and reprogramming everything. So really appreciate him. He's been doing a lot of stuff that I didn't know was a headache for me, or in some cases did know was a headache for me, and he's sort of taken that off my plate. Thank you very much, Art. Appreciate it, buddy. But yeah, I think medium and above ships will be done in those crafting stations, or those big crafting hangars. And I'll turn over to this video here. There was some video of that. Let's see if I can scrub and find it. Not video, but well, there is video, but there's also an image of it. You can see right here. This is in one of the crafting hangars. You can see it is a little bit different here. I love the inside of this hangar. I'm not sure if anyone noticed that, but the inside of this crafting or this fabrication hangar does look different than a normal hangar. A lot of people didn't recognize that, but there it is. You can see it. It's got kind of the grid on the bottom. It looks like it got these big resource things over here. Again, don't know totally what this is, but thought that was interesting. There is, let me see if I can, yeah, there it is. You can see in the back here, it says fabrication hanger medium. So that would be made, I think that would be to create medium, possibly large ships. Deedsbra, take it easy. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. But you can see the fabrication hanger right back there. So I think that's how we're going to build those bigger ships. Asame says, speaking of the BMM, you think it will go to 1,000? Thank you for that follow, Deed. Appreciate it. Speaking of the BMM, you think it will go above $1,000 in release as well? Yeah, makes sense that it would. It's a 239 meters, 239 meters, 236 or 239 meters long capital ship. Yeah, it's 100% going to go up. If it goes above 1,000, I don't know. We don't know how much CIG is valuating that marketplace gameplay, but we do need to factor in the alien tax with the with the BMM. It is an alien ship, so we expect some sort of alien tax. So I think it could be rather expensive. Lillian says, let's see, let me go to some. I go here on the demo here. Lillian says, question, do you think CIG will reveal the modules for the Javelin? It was sold as modular. Ooh, that's a really good question. Last we heard, which was 2 CitizenCons ago, not last year's CitizenCon, but the year before that, 2023, CIG did state that the Javelin was still modular and that they were figuring out what those modular rooms were going to be, like what options they would have. I've heard some rumors that the amount of modularity has been scaled down, but that it is still modular. I don't read too much into that. I would take that as a huge question mark. I just wouldn't read into that much. I don't know how speculative or where that information was originally sourced from. So that being said, the last I heard was that it had 2 modular rooms, which would make sense. I think that would be something that CIG can handle for the ship. What those modules bring, I don't know. Now that we're seeing these sort of weapon kits, I could see the modules bringing on additional weapon customization. It could bring things like crafting stations on board. So again, there's a lot of things that those modules could bring. The Javelin is supposed to be kind of a flexible capital ship. We just got to see where CIG is going with it. I would like them to talk about the Javelin again. It has been some time. I don't know if, who would have that talk, whether it's John Crew or Nathan Dearsley, because I know he does a lot of Javelin stuff. I'm not sure who would sort of discuss that, but I would love to learn more about the Javelin and where it's at, how it's been updated, what changes have they made from Squadron 42 Javelin. Remember, the Javelin's kind of an important ship. It is the largest player ownable ship currently. Now, that may change as we go into the future, but currently it is the largest player ownable ship. So, that's whenever you have something like that, you got to make sure you put the right amount of effort and work into it so that the people that have paid that incredible amount of money for are happy. You're delivering on those promises, right, from the original pledge for the ship and all that kind of good stuff. So I think it would be good for CIG to sort of pull back the curtain a little bit on that. Hype Train was just started in my channel 3 minutes ago. Choo choo. Hype Train is going, everybody. All right, we have another question here. How are our questions? I think we're almost done. I think we got one more question here. Cosmic Sea Turtle, do you think the Crucible will be able to manufacture ships? And if so, what sizes? I mean, currently it's not spec to be able to do that. Currently, I don't think it will. Well, no, sorry. Currently, it's not concepted to, but I could see them making that change to where the repair hangar is a fabrication hangar. I think it would probably be built around the same limitations as the Pioneer. So maybe extra small and small ships can be crafted, but I don't see it being able to craft anything larger like a medium ship. As a matter of fact, we could be seeing that as sort of an all-round global limitation on ship fabrication, in that anything medium and above is, has to be done in the fabrication hangar, which is so far what we've seen. We haven't seen anything beyond that. We've seen spirits be crafted in fabrication hangars. We've seen or we've heard discussions about nomads being crafted in the fabrication hangar of the Pioneer, and spirits being crafted in the fabrication hangar of bases, right? Thank you, everyone. That hype train is complete. Thank you very much, everybody. You're absolutely amazing. I knew I could count on you all. Thank you very much. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Real quick here. So I think that I think there's still some question marks in terms of ship building, ship creation, all that kind of stuff. I think there's still a lot of questions centered around just marketplace type gameplay stuff. So how we're going to be able to sell our own items, how we're going to be able to advertise the selling of our own items, whether that's ships all the way down to FPS items. So I think there's still a lot of questions there. I could see that being a panel at CitizenCon. My concern is that I don't see them focusing on that in this CitizenCon. I could see an entire Inside Star Citizen dedicated, and a follow-up Star Citizen Live dedicated to how we are going to sell things, what we're going to be able to make, all that stuff. I mean, ultimately, I think we're going to be able to make everything in the game. I don't think there's, I mean, look, if we are going to be able to build Bengals, then I think the sky's the limit. We're going to be able to build literally anything in the game, right? So we need to know how those systems are going to work and what tools we're going to have to properly sell, build, manufacture, transport, ship, all that stuff. We're going to need to know how the marketplace gameplay, both NPC and player driven, how that's going to work. So Rabbit says, question, asteroid base building, what are your hopes for it? Should it be basically the same as the large space station showcased or something different? Well, we haven't heard if we're going to be able to do that or not, right? We haven't heard if we're going to be able to do Crew Day. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube. Really appreciate that. Building up that YouTube subscriber base. Appreciate it. We don't know if we're going to be able to do that, but maybe, right? Maybe. I would like for us to be able to do asteroid bases, or maybe it has to be certain types of asteroids or asteroids of a certain size. And specifically, the reason there is that it would probably have to be certain asteroids, and maybe you can scan for asteroids that can be built on, because CIG would have to delineate the surface of that asteroid for building, right? And you would probably want resource on it and all that kind of stuff. Getting close to the end here, people. Arbiter of Mankind says, you think the hull D would come pre 1.0? Yeah, I think the hull D will be pre 1.0. And primarily because I think we'll need the hull D for space station building testing. So, yeah, I would think the hull D would be a pre 1.0 ship. So, Azame says, question on the video you were playing in the back. They showed logs from trees being used as well for base building. How do you think we get logs? Is it with a ship or ground vehicle? That's a great question. I have heard people talk about that before, actually. I don't know if I have those up. Yeah, you can see the logs right here. We don't know. What we do know is there's something interesting here. If you look back, the trees are broken down as if they've been cut. It's almost like this area has been cleared. Now, the clearing of an area could happen when you activate your drones and you go into a, the base building, RPG overhead kind of look, right? That I see that being the case when you mark out an area or you purchase a plot of land. I can see it chopping down a lot of the trees so you have open room to build. I hope CIG allows you to choose which trees to cut down, because it'd be nice to be able to nestle your base in some trees, but we'll have to see. Let's see. Arbiter says, you think we would ever get the Pegasus? Not the Pegasus as we know it. I think I've heard through the grapevine that it's not, that ship's been shelved. That's what I've heard. Arbiter Mankind says, is crew bedlogging ever coming back? It is. We've speculated on my show and Info Runners before about what that would look like. I do think beds are how NPC crew members are going to log into and out of our ship. That's essentially going to be like a spawn closet. How that affects players, I don't know, but I do hope CIG reveals a little bit more about that system soon. I do think we'll have that for 1.0. CIG have said that they're sort of rethinking all that, but I hope we hear about it sooner rather than later, because it's an important one. I do feel like we lost something cool about ships when we lost that little feature, but it was problematic. There was issues with it. Kyle Smith says, question, as CIG's planetary approach is reimagined, could CR have seen the immense positive feedback to Dune's base building and ditch their strictly modular approach for a more piecemeal system? I hope not. Here's the thing. I really like CIG's approach. I did check out Dunes. I think it was cool. It didn't feel like Star Citizen to me. It wasn't as grounded as I think Star Citizens would. So I don't think they've pivoted. I think Chris knows we need to push forward. I do believe Richard Tyler has a very clear vision for base building. I think it's been the progress for a long time now. I think for them to turn around and do something completely new based off one game that's out, even though that game had a very positive reaction to its base building mechanic, I think would be foolish of them to do. I think the best bet for them is to stick it out, continue building their vision of base building, and then iterate on it in the future if the reception is not great to it. Make the changes to make it great. So I think hopefully they don't sidetrack themselves too much just because other base building games come out, even if they're good. 3D Imagination 23 says, question, can a rich person play a private and better version of Star Citizen? Can a rich person play a better and private version of Star Citizen? I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand the question. I don't think no, you can't. I mean, even if you're concierge, you're still playing the same game. Maximum Game, thank you for the follow. You're still playing the same game if you're concierge. You're not getting anything extra or new. So no, I don't think so. I don't think if you're rich or poor, it matters. Asmay says, question, do you think we'll ever get actual tall mountains of Planet Tech V5? Yep, I think we've seen them in the Castra stuff, right? If you go back to Castra, right here, I mean, you can see some tall mountains. So I think we're going to get that with Planet Tech V5. You can see those here, these really tall mountains. So yeah, I think that's coming for sure. All right, one more question, everybody. Taking one more question. Final question is going to be from Arbiter. Arbiter's question is, most people seem to think that after they release chapter 1 of Squadron 42, would that mean that other chapters are also done? I doubt they would pull manpower till they finish the full game. No, I think Squadron 42 will be finished. I think they'll then make a big push on Star Citizen. And then as they get close to Star Citizen 1.0, they'll really start to ramp up chapter 2 stuff for Squadron 42. And then push hard on Squadron 42's chapter 2. I do think after Squadron, the focus will be 100% on Star Citizen 1.0, though. I really, really do. Yeah, I do have some feedback on the bot. We'll talk soon. We'll talk soon. I do have some feedback on that, though. But anyways, everyone, we've talked a lot about CitizenCon. We went through mostly questions, but that's okay. That was awesome. We essentially talked about our expectations, what we think is coming. You all were engaging. Thank you for all the great questions, everybody. I mean, your questions were right on target in terms of staying on topic. So that is absolutely amazing. We asked questions that were centered around CitizenCon and, you know, what we hope to see and all that kind of good stuff. So again, I think that's great. Thank you very much for that. We are going to raid. We're going to raid someone. I have the person we're going to raid already. I'm going to grab them. It's been fun. Do not forget, tomorrow I'll be on InfoRunner's show. Execute's probably still on the channel. Can't wait to talk with you there. Fun Family Gaming. Thank you for popping over and hitting that follow button. But I'll be on InfoRunner's show probably a little bit before CitizenCon. Then we're going to go dark, watch CitizenCon, and then I might be on a little bit after. I think Nonstop Bops will be on after as well. So that will be really cool. We'll be reacting to all the news from CitizenCon. So it's going to be really, really exciting. Cosmic Sea Turtle, yes, on Sunday, I will be doing the Zoom thing. If you need the invite link to RSVP for the Zoom meetup, it's just going to be a hangout. It's just going to be a casual hangout. There is the Zoom link to RSVP for that. So far all that's still planned and still going good. I will be doing giveaways during it and be doing my own stream during that Zoom session where you all can jump on stream and talk about it and go on voice and talk about your reactions to it as well. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. All right, everybody, I am going to start a raid today. We are going to raid the very person I was just talking about. I only met him once, but Execute's a good friends with him now. He's a really cool dude. He knows a lot about the Vandal. Going to send you over to Nonstop Bops. So get ready for the raid, everybody. Thank you for hanging out tonight. I appreciate all of you. Really appreciate all of you. Do not forget to support Ender with his GoFundMe and his move and all that craziness. Ender, pop that back in the chat, buddy. Pop that link right back in the chat for me. Everyone, thank you for supporting him, supporting Starjump, supporting me. Really appreciate it. Salute to Artorius, my show producer in chat. Thank you very much. He'll be hanging out with us on Sunday as well. Everybody, sending you over to Nonstop Bops. Give him some of that Starjump love. Hit that follow button. Have a good night.